Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Becoming Relentless. I am your host, Eleanor McCabe. I'm an IFBB at Bikini Pro and an online health and fitness coach. And today we are going to talk about some misconceptions, some bodybuilding, some fitness, and then maybe just some like miscellaneous. But the biggest thing that I was asked about, and this was definitely a couple months ago, but the whole new division for women. So the bikini versus like fit model. Why did they bring fit model? What is it for? And then like what are the misconceptions around it so far? So just like diving right in, I do think over the last 5, 6 years, bikini has evolved massively. Um, and I no pun intended with that. But the bikini girls these days that I see, they are jacked, dude. Like I watch these bikini pros and I'm like, holy moly, these girls are muscular. And when I first got into bikini and when I first got into competing, um, I loved the bikini look. So like the Courtney King era, the the Janet and Jen. I mean, I love Jen Dory. She's one of my favorites. But the Courtney King, like Janet Angelica era, that was my favorite look of bikini. And obviously I know like my opinion doesn't matter. I'm not a judge. Um I mean, I'm an athlete in the sport, and so like at the end of the day, I know that it's up to the judges and the criteria. I understand that. So we're coming at this from like my personal preference lens. And my personal preference is like the bikini look from back in the day. And I probably sound like an old person saying that, or like I'm like back in my bodybuilding days. But I think what I've seen, like just watching, so I just watched the Pittsburgh Pro, and Amy and Ashlyn and Evie and Maureen, those are the top four. They are jacked. They are so muscular. And I don't know if it's just like the phase that I'm in right now, like where I can't push my body hard with training. Um, But I just don't think that I want to look like that, which is crazy because for the last 8 years of my life, that has been my goal. I want to be a bikini Olympian. So just seeing how the division is evolving right in front of our very eyes, and to add to that, now the new bikini fit division or the fit model, I don't know how I feel about that division either. Like, I know that it's the first year, so obviously, like, it is going to evolve. All of the divisions evolve every single time. But with Fit Model, when I'm in person at the shows, and I've been to a couple shows this year, I don't know how to say this. Like, I mean this so respectfully. It's uncomfortable to watch Fit Model sometimes because it's not bodybuilding. And I think as the division, like, ages, like, as the, criteria changes and the athletes evolve and, like, we get a little bit more clear cut on the look and the feel of Fit Model, like, I think that it'll change, but currently, like, when I go to a bodybuilding show, I want to be wowed. Like, I want to look at those people on stage and be like, "Holy crap, they worked so hard," and like, the result is like freaky. And I mean that respectfully. Like I am a bodybuilder. Like I want to I want to be like, "Whoa, they're muscular. Like they look crazy. Like they're jacked and striated and their muscle is dense." Like that's what I want to see. And Fit Model is very like just beach goer. It's not like wow. But I do also understand like most of the girls who are competing in Fit Model, they maybe have competed in bikini before, or they maybe have never competed in their life. And so this is them giving bodybuilding a shot. So I'm not going to sit here and say like, I don't like it or it's not, um, true bodybuilding or whatever, because you don't know. Like, everybody who stepped on stage, like, they went through some sort of transformation and they did work hard. You can't say that they didn't work hard. Like, nobody steps on stage after just being like, I think I'll try it. And like, they pay all the money to get tanned and whatever. Like, these women spent time and effort and energy and got on stage. So that in itself is a win. Like, that in itself, I do think is impressive. And so I'm not trying to take away from that whatsoever. But what bothers me is women, like, divisions. We now have fit model, bikini, figure, physique, wellness, women's bodybuilding. That's 6 divisions. Oh, and fitness. So 7 divisions. Why? It's just there's just so many, and I'm trying to toe the line here. Like, I don't want to be controversial, and I'm genuinely not trying to talk down on anything, but bikini was made originally to attract people into the sport without it being like extreme muscularity. Like, bikini was made so that, okay, women who are interested in lifting and going to the gym, like, they have a division to compete in that doesn't require like years of heavy lifting or using a lot of PEDs. And now bikini is like, you do use PEDs. Most bikini pros, PEDs. Fit model, I think, is going to help a little bit with like allowing people to get into the sport without having to use drug protocols. But like, just like with bikini, I think that it is going to evolve and it is going to become more competitive. And it's like, where are we going to draw the line? Because even with wellness, like, when wellness first came out, everybody joked like, haha, these women are like out of shape bikini competitors, XYZ. But now, like, you look at wellness girls and they look like their lower bodies are like physique girls, like massive, hugely developed lower bodies. And I think that we've seen in real time how the division has evolved. So I am just kind of curious to see how Fit Model does. But oh my God. Sorry, I haven't had coffee today and I've been talking a lot today. But I'm curious to see how it evolves. But I think that a huge misconception is that to be successful in bikini, you have to like, or no. Yeah. I just lost my train of thought. What is the misconception? You tell me. I was just talking to Sophia about this. I think there's misconceptions around the time that it takes to be a good bikini competitor, and then also the like supplementation and like the PEDs, because with bodybuilding, the natural versus enhanced, like, I do think that that is kind of a controversial topic. And I don't think that most people realize once you use steroids or PEDs, you have chemically and physiologically changed your body and you can't change it back. So like, your propensity for building muscle, for recovery, all of these things change once you use, and you're never natural again. So I do think that there is a little bit of confusion around like natural versus not. I've seen some people who used PEDs and then they stopped and they say like, "Oh, I'm natural now." You're not using now, but you will never be natural again. Does that make sense? So this one's twofold. And this was the conversation that Sophia and I were having, is that there is like a massive underestimation of how long it takes to build the muscle to be competitive in bikini, especially now with where the division's at. And I think that it is both the athlete's responsibility and the coach's responsibility to understand those expectations and understand the time. When you're in bodybuilding, like when you're so sucked into it, and I'm talking from just like personal experience. When I got into bodybuilding, I was young, very young. And my very first coach, he was also a bodybuilder, but he didn't understand how to coach a woman. He coached me like I was a mini man. So it was like very low calories, like very low fats, which hormonally that's not good for a woman. And I'm not talking like the last few weeks of prep because it's like everything is temporary when you have to go to extremes. I'm talking like the whole prep, like the whole 20 weeks of it was like 20 grams of fat. Like that's so bad for your hormones as a woman. But he prepped me like I was a mini man. And I say that meaning like I told him I wanted to compete in bikini. And he said, okay, well, we're just going to get you shredded and then we'll fill you back out before you go on stage. And the bikini division has come a really long way since that. But there's no reason why a bikini competitor like ever has to be absolutely shredded. Like the bikini look, even these days, is like a full, healthy, muscular look. And it used to be very achievable naturally, but I do think the way that the division has evolved, it's not anymore. I don't think these days the average bikini competitor, her physique is going to be achievable for most women without using some sort of supplementation. And maybe this is a hot take, I don't know, but I don't think most girls who get into the sport when they are young, they're in a rush. And I know that from experience, but I also see it with the athletes that I'm coaching. The 19, 20, 21-year-olds who are getting into bodybuilding, they're in a rush. I don't know why, but they just feel as though it's now or never. They have to do it now. They have to be the best. They have to win at everything. And they're willing to sacrifice. Whereas like older competitors or like women that I'm working with who are a little bit older, they have an understanding that there's like a time investment that you have to put in. Like you have to spend years in the gym. You have to spend years dieting and practicing being a bodybuilder before you you earn the right or the title to like get on stage and call yourself a bodybuilder. Do I think that that's the case for everybody? No, like I do think that there's gray area, but what I've noticed is with the younger competitors, they're in such a rush to get to the top. And with that rush, coaches can sometimes take advantage of that and tell them that, you know, we're going to get you, you're going to win the overall, you're going to win your pro card, like feeding them these false expectations and then at the same time, like giving them PED protocols that are dangerous, that are not good for their health, that, you know, oh, it's temporary, like you'll just be on this drug for 20 weeks. Just 20 weeks, like that's a long time. And you compound that with the other drugs that you use. And it's just, there's just no reason for that to be a competitor's reality, I think, in my opinion. Like unless you're competing at a high clip, like you're a high level athlete and you're going out for a pro win or an Olympia title, there's no reason to rush the journey and rush the process to stage. The more time that you can take living the lifestyle, so eating the same things every single day, like get comfortable with the monotonous, with the boring, with the same thing day in and day out. That is what's going to make you a really good bodybuilder and a really good competitor. Not the drugs, not the rush, not the constant preps and trying different things. Like, I don't know if it's the like where our culture's at, but the instant gratification that people want is actually crazy. I have come across where I've had to have talks with my athletes that like, you don't need a new training program every 6 weeks or even every 12 weeks or even every 6 months. You don't need new training. You need to push yourself every single week in the gym and find the fun in chasing PRs, in improving your form, in strengthening your mind-muscle connection. That is where the fun is. It's not changing the exercise, changing the reps, changing the training program every other month. That's not what gets you results. What gets you results is bread and butter, sticking to consistency. But people so badly want the instant gratification that they're like, oh, well, this training plan, I've been on it for 12 weeks. I'm not really seeing a difference. So I'm actually just going to follow my favorite influencer or favorite bodybuilder's plan. It's maybe that plan, that influencer, that bodybuilder, maybe their plan is very specific to them. How do you know that what they're doing is going to work for you? And you don't, because you haven't followed a plan long enough to figure out what works and what doesn't. And that instant gratification, I just see it bleeding into a lot of different aspects, and a lot of the challenges that I'm having now with these younger, newer athletes is the fact that they do want something new all the time. They're not satisfied with just getting the plan and sticking to plan. And so I think that is both a misconception that you have to have something new to switch it up and shock your body, but that also that the results and that the muscle and that the body changes are going to happen like that. It doesn't. Just because you stayed on your plan for 2 weeks in a row does not mean that your body is going to see massive changes. You have to think you have been living your life a certain way. You getting onto a meal plan or a training plan, it doesn't mean that your body is all of a sudden magically going to change overnight. That's just not how it works. And I think a lot of newer athletes that I've been working with, they have that misconception of oh, well, I stayed on plan. I was 100% and I'm not losing weight. Well, yeah, you were on plan. That's great. You nailed everything 100%. That's also great. Do it again. Do it again and again and again and again. And then you'll start to see the results. You'll start to see the changes. But oftentimes, we don't pursue something long enough in order to see the change that we're looking for. We give up right before that change was going to happen. So if you are a newer competitor, or even if you've stepped away from the stage and you're thinking about getting back to it, just realize even if you took 5 years off from the stage, you going into a prep now, it doesn't mean that that prep is going to be any easier. It doesn't mean that that prep is going to be smooth sailing. You don't know what your body's going to do or how it's going to respond. And you also don't know the timeline. And having an expectation of instant gratification or instant change because of the small little changes that you're making, it's just an unrealistic expectation. Another misconception, before I get too off track here, is the time that it does take to build muscle. Especially asterisk here, natural versus enhanced. So when you are enhanced, you will build muscle faster, but there is risk to every reward. So if you choose to use PEDs to build muscle in your off season or between shows, just understand that the toxic load on your body going into a prep and doing more PEDs it's going to affect you. And if that's worth, if you have a timeline for some reason, and maybe it's personal to you, just understand that timeline, because you've rushed it and you've accelerated it, and that time that it's taken you to build that muscle has been shortened, just understand that the health consequences after this phase are going to be more severe than somebody who is natural and is taking more time to build that muscle. And the time that it takes is very specific to every individual, whether or not you are using supplements. It comes down to your genetics. It comes down to your environment factors. It comes down to all of these different things as an individual. So it's hard to say, when people are oh, well, how long is it going to take for me to put on 5 pounds of muscle? It depends. It depends on your structure, your genes, what you've done in the past. If you're natural, if you're not natural, all of those things, I can't give a clear-cut answer. And a lot of the time, people are oh, well, how long is it going to take for me to build X, Y, and Z? And it's well, the science says on average, it takes this amount of time, but like you as an individual, there's so many things that matter, like how hard you work, how well you sleep, your recovery, um, the food that you're eating, like the quality of food, um, the quality of your lifts. Like there's so many factors. So it's very difficult to like give a timeline, but I will say like if you are a natural athlete and you're trying to put muscle on, years, like give yourself years, because wouldn't you rather take the time to build up the physique naturally? And then that way, when you do prep, it's not like you're not surprised at the end that, like, oh, I'm a lot smaller than I thought. Um, because that is something that I see happen a lot is people rush like their natural, they'll do like a 3 or 4 week or 3 4 month bulking season, growth season, and then they're really surprised when they cut and like not a whole lot has changed. Muscle building takes time, and every deficit that you go into, you're going to lose some muscle. Like it just happens. Um, so I think that is a misconception that I did want to address as well. And then the one last thing that I did want to talk about as far as like misconceptions go is specifically around like bikini versus wellness, because as the divisions have evolved, I've definitely heard a lot of people say like, "Oh, well, I really love training. Like I love training legs. So I think I'm just going to go up to wellness." Um and that's not how it works either. Sorry, I needed some water. But as a bikini competitor, one of the struggles of the division is that you can't get too big. Or like they want you to stay within a certain realm. So like you can get too big, you don't want to get too big is what I meant to say. With bikini, the division criteria is like very clear around what they want, and I think some girls get confused that like, oh well, I love oh my gosh, I'm gonna need a coffee after this. A lot of girls, they get confused like, oh, I love training so much, like I love training legs, so I think I'm too big for bikini, I'm just gonna go to wellness. And what I would say to that is wellness is massively genetic based. If you look at the wellness girls, the wellness pros who are winning right now, it's genetics, their genetic structure, how they're built. Um, a lot of it comes down to that. And the Brazilians, like if you notice, they are winning wellness at a high clip. And I think it's because genetically they are built favorably for the division. So when a bikini girl says like, "Oh, I think, I love training so much, like I think I'm going to upsize to wellness." I think that is I don't think that most women understand like what that actually means. And why I'm saying that this is a misconception is because bikini, as the division's evolving, it is getting more jacked. Like, look at Laura Lee, look at Jennifer Dory, look at Maureen, look at Amy, look at Ashlyn. Their lower bodies are jacked. Like, they are massive. um, and so I think as bikini girls, like, we have a little bit more room as the division has evolved. And I don't think our first impulse should be like, oh, well, I'm going to size up because, my legs are too big or because I love training legs so much. Like, I think I'm just going to go up to wellness. I think I see it a lot with bikini wellness. That's why I'm focusing in on it. But I do see it across all of the divisions. Like in bikini, we have a lot of leeway. Like you could love training and be a really good bikini competitor. You just have to know like how to train and where to train. Um, and so my biggest thing with like jumping up divisions or changing divisions is just understand what the criteria is and what you're getting yourself into, because the higher the division, the harder you have to train, the more you have to eat, the higher your body weight will go in the off season, the more drugs you might have to use. And again, like it's very individual. Like it also comes down a lot to genetics. So it won't be all of those things all of the time, but just understanding like what you're committing to. And that sizing up isn't as easy as just like, oh, I get to train harder now. Um, that is definitely something that I have run into a couple times and just had to have like a conversation around of like, I know that you think that you look wellness in your off season, or you think that you are, really training hard and that you're going to outgrow bikini. But until you have stepped on stage as a bikini girl and you have gotten that direct feedback from judges, like at a national level that like, hey, you're a little bit big for bikini. I think most of us are not too big for bikini as bikini girls. And then this applies across the board to like the other divisions. But there was one more thing that I wanted to talk about with the misconceptions. I just feel like my brain's kind of blinking a little bit. Oh, you know what? I did want to talk. This is going to be completely different. Sorry, we're going to take a different track. But I wanted to talk about the competitors that I've put on stage this year because I haven't been podcasting regularly. But I had Molly compete in Houston, and she's a first-time competitor. She's in school. She goes to UT, and I was able to meet with her like once a week for posing. But she got first in her juniors, and then she did true novice, novice, and open. And I want to say that she got third, and fourth. That Houston show was competitive. I loved it. And I think it's because it was like the first show of the season. But essentially, Molly, she, with her prep, like she was somebody where I had to be really careful with like the stress management because she was in school, or she is in school, and she's also in a sorority, and then she also worked a job. So there were like a lot of things with her prep that we had to manage stress with. And so it was a really fun challenge for me, for my brain, for her, to kind of figure out where to push and when to pull. But her prep, she had to get like really low calories, really high cardio. And I'm so proud of her for everything that she accomplished. And then we had Maddie, who just competed in California. And she, again, young student in school. She's in med school. And I think she just turned 22, I want to say. But she might be younger than that. I'm not going to say how old she is because I feel like it was her birthday. But anyways, her prep was completely different from Molly's, right? And like as a coach, I think it's always really fun to have these different experiences and almost add these different tools into my tool belt as far as like how to prep people differently and how to see when to push and when to pull. And like, even though these two women were very similar in that their lives are very stressful, they're both in school, they have full social lives. It was really cool to see, like, even though their lives were very similar, their preps were so different. Because with Maddie, her cardio never got above, I want to say 45 minutes per day. Whereas I think with Molly, at one point, she was at 90 minutes per day. And with Maddie, her food never got super, super low. We definitely had some weeks where we pushed, but for the majority of her prep, we were able to do refeeds. We were able to do a cheat meal. We did some carb cycling. So it was super, super fascinating as a coach, and like very fulfilling to like be able to put things that I've learned over time, like actually into practice with them. But Maddie, she competed in California. And then I also got to meet Kelsey, my athlete, who lives out in California in that area. But Maddie got first in true novice, first in novice, and then second in her open class. But she got second to the overall winner. So I was like, honestly, like that's a win in itself. Like she competed against somebody who went on to win the whole show. And as a first-time competitor winning her true novice and novice class, like I am so proud of her. But both of them were really fun to prep. And I kind of realized, like, going into the season, I have a lot of girls competing. And so that's kind of scratching the itch for me personally in competing. Because I think normally, like in the past, I would go to shows and I'd be like, damn, I really want to compete. Like, I want to be up there. But these past couple shows with my athletes, like, I have not felt that way. I have not felt the need to be like, oh, I wish I was cutting, or I wish I was in prep, or I wish I was competing. Like, I've just been able to be there, enjoy the show, coach them, celebrate with them, and not feel the urge of like, ooh, I wish that was me. I'm like, I'm so glad that that's not me, actually. Like, I have energy. I have a little bit of flexibility to like eat and drink and like skip the gym. Um, but yeah, it's been really fun. So looking ahead for the rest of this year, I do have a couple more athletes competing. I think up next is Leslie, and then we have Carolina, and then we have Angela, and then we have Lexi. So 4, maybe 5 girls competing the rest of this year, which means I get to travel for their shows. So I am very excited for that. But as far as like me and coaching goes, I am taking on new athletes. I have established like a new system in place. So we have the Google spreadsheets for tracking your training, and then I can populate with graphs that analyze your progress with training. So that's been pretty cool. And then as far as check-ins go, I do like once per week. So anyways, still taking on clients. So if you're interested, you can DM me, or you can find links in my bio to apply, schedule a call with me. But as far as like looking ahead, I'll be at the Chicago Pro, the Atlanta Pro, and then I'll be at a couple shows here in Texas. So if you are like looking to compete, if you're looking to hire a posing coach, I do all of that. So you can reach out to me or come say hi to me at any one of these shows. But I'm not going to lie, I'm getting a little bit yapped out. So hopefully this episode was a little bit more helpful in terms of like misconceptions, what I'm currently seeing with the divisions, with the evolution, and then just kind of like a little fun shout out for my athletes and what we have coming up ahead of time. But as always, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. If you like this episode, like, share, subscribe, all of the things, send it to a friend. But until the next time, stay relentless.